Reading over the bio of the next gentleman that we're bringing out, I realized I haven't done anything in my life. Terence Reuben was born in Durban, South Africa, and against all odds as someone of Indian parentage. He was able to finish high school, he attended college at the University of Durban, and he came to the United States in 1993. Both he and his wife Tina work at Metro Health in the health sports medicine, the health sports medicine team. And he uses his specialty training in orthopedics, manual therapy, and sports medicine to manage athletes and their injuries in the Grand Rapids area. He also serves as medical coordinator for several local races, including Fifth Third Riverbank Run, Grand Rapids Triathlon, Michigan Titanium, and the Metro Health Marathon. He also serves as an adjunct professor in the athletic training department at Aquinas. In 2000, he founded PTS Sports Pro, Inc., a one-on-one personal training service. He serves as its CEO and trainer until 2015. In 2008, Mr. Reuben also helped co-found My Team Triumph, a local GR nonprofit organization which promotes racing with individuals with disabilities. And this has grown into a national organization with over 30 chapters around the country. And he currently serves as the president and executive director of the West Michigan chapter. He's also a triathlete, thank you very much. All right, sprint triathlons, Ironman distance events, runner completing 29 marathons since 2005. Like I said, I have done nothing in my life. So, without further ado, Mr. Terence Reuben.
I think that's about 6 minutes and 40 seconds right there, right? Thank you, Pecha Kucha, for having me tonight and allowing me to share my story. And my story has nothing to do with any of those things you just heard, but is the foundation of what got me there. So I decided to start the evening off with a blank canvas because I want to paint you a picture of what life was like growing up in a very special time in history in South Africa. And the things that we had to deal with to elevate ourselves beyond the situation. And as we all know, that we have those situations in our lives on a very daily basis, and it's not how we accept it, but what we do to elevate ourselves beyond that. So yes, I am South African. I'm currently American. I have lots of labels. I've checked the black box. I've checked the other box. My wife is Portuguese. I've been told I look Puerto Rican. I don't know. I'm an immigrant, and I'm here to share my story. But life is not always black and white, although in South Africa they did try to do that. There's this little thing that they started way back in 1948 called Apartheid. If you haven't heard of it, you need to do some reading. Apartheid pretty much means to set apart, right? To separate. And I grew up in a life of what we call racial segregation. I like to laugh at that now because thinking about it any deeper would probably make me want to cry. But it was a tough time to grow up as a non-white in a country that looked down at you just because of your skin color. And I learned very quickly that I had to rise above that in order to really achieve something in life. I grew up reading signs like this area for whites only. We rode separate buses. We shopped in different areas. We laid on different beaches. Can you imagine a fence going down the center of a beach just to separate one color from the other? Oh, and by the way, I wasn't even classified as Indian. I was classified as Asian. So for those four racial groups, they were the whites, the Asians, the coloreds, which was actually a different racial group in South Africa, and then the Africans or the blacks. And so I, as the non-white, learned very quickly from a very young age how to deal with emotional distress when you get posed with questions like these and you get subject to things that just doesn't rub you the right way. We grew up in an area where Mahatma Gandhi did a lot of his work, which was in Phoenix, which is right outside of Durban. And you learn very quickly how to use the strength of what he said to get beyond your situation and to make you stronger. I remember growing up hearing stories about how tough things were for many people and how they just gave up because they let their circumstances define them. And I chose not to do that. I chose to define my circumstances, and that is why I am here today, halfway across the world, being able to talk to you about what that looked like growing up. I spent my revolutionary years on this big campus called the University of Durban-Westville. It was an interesting period back in the mid-'80s where, I think it was the early '80s where apartheid was starting to be challenged. There was a lot of protests going on, some rioting in the streets. It started off with some murders or some killings that happened in a little town called Soweto, and it spread like wildfire throughout our communities. We took to the streets, we protested in different forms, mostly non-violent, but it's amazing how the media can portray that when the government is in charge of the media. And we spent our formative college years having images of this, where these army tanks will come onto our campuses and all of a sudden, for no reason at all, will start spraying us with purple dye and shooting us with gas canisters and rubber bullets just to kind of rile up the students. Can you imagine a set of innocent students just standing on campus waiting for the lectures to begin and then being subject to that? Police would just show up so randomly, yet the media would release something the next day. Students at Durban-Westville were rioting, and the police had to be called in to subdue the riots. Now, how do you handle situations like that when you are constantly being subject to, first misinformation, and then the brutality that goes along with it by people that abuse power? And that's kind of what has led up to either really hating your life or trying to find the thing that you get to define within that life. As I grew up through all of this, my dad being a pastor and me being a PK, I learned how to figure out ways in which I could self-define my life. And I defined it according to these 4 essential characteristics: to live, to love, to trust, and to give. And when you wrap your heart around those concepts, you can figure out where the good is in life. I mean, I grew up in a beautiful city. That's Durban. There was no hut where I grew up. South Africa is at the tip of Africa, and we had some of the best beaches and beautiful places that you could visit and tour. So enjoy life, live where you are at, instead of desiring what you don't have. That's my beautiful bride. 21 years of marriage this year. She's sitting right there somewhere. And in finding that partner that you can deal with, that you can love, and that you want to cherish and spend the rest of your life with, was an important part of the healing of what we grew up with. Then comes the trust bit, because if you cannot trust, you're not going to be able to grow. And I learned very quickly to trust God and trust Him with everything that I had in my life. And my mom, as a child of a preacher family, very quickly instilled both the fear of God and the grace of God in our hearts. And so part of what I do with all the strengths that I have is to give. And as you heard from my team Triumph, we started out here providing opportunity for people with disability, has been a big cornerstone of how I combine my athleticism together with my ability as a physical therapist in sports medicine to create opportunity for someone that otherwise wouldn't have that. What I learned very quickly is that we are all human. We're born human. But how do we maintain or hang on to our humanity is defined by the choices that we make and the things that we do. And sometimes it becomes a selfish thought of, hey, what is it in for me? And we let our labels kind of lead that. But at the end of the day, you reach deep inside and you find your humanity, and you find how you can then define the world around you and just make our world a better place. So thank you very much.
And he has great hair too. Come on, Terence.